So, guys, on another platform, I posted up the lawsuit that I filed some years ago. Okay. I had to pay $400 to put that information on the public record. Okay. Even though I knew that I wasn't going to be able to serve it, I had to pay $400 just to get that on the public record. Okay. And the reason why the court listener, why it's available on court listener is because I put it up on court listener myself. Okay, even though it means that if some random normal person in my life looks that up, they're going to be like, WTF, this BITCH is insane. And let me tell you, I am insane, but not in the way that some people try to say that I am. Okay? So, someone was trying to criticize me, okay, because they were cross-referencing that to my website. Trying to act like I was not the one that proverbially castrated Chad Wolf, and that's not correct. Okay? Because it's not like that website was, or that lawsuit was the first that I was fighting that situation. It was just me getting on the public record. Okay? So, as I've outlined to some of you all, Donald Kushner Netanyahu was running things with a massive amount of blackmail via Joseph E. Schmitz was one of his blackmail keymen. Okay, again, Joseph E. Schmitz was the IG of the DOD. Okay, so he spent all of his time while he was the IG at the Pentagon just amassing massive damning blackmail dossier files for things including child pornography, child sexual abuse, okay, different levels of corruption. And then he would officially, quote unquote, find no wrongdoing in his investigations. Because again, if you're charging people, then you can't use that stuff as blackmail anymore. So they would build these massive blackmail dossiers on people at all levels, lower levels to elevate into higher positions in the future as a controlled puppet, okay, because they're so blackmailed, or people who are already at high levels. Massive blackmail stashes. The biggest blackmail stash, perhaps the worst blackmail stash that's ever perhaps run the White House. Okay, so when Donald Kushner Netanyahu put Joseph E. Schmitz, who again is the brother of infamous pedophile Mary Kay Letourneau, when he put him on his transition team, that was a signal to everybody in the know that, yes, hello, Joseph E. Schmitz is with me, and we have all the blackmail files on all of you guys from while he was at the DOD. Okay, and so when Joseph E. Schmitz left the Pentagon, he took all those blackmail dossier files over to Blackwater as the head of the parent company of Blackwater. Okay, now some of you guys understand that Blackwater are mercenaries. Okay, you think that because things like the Arkansas body count are online, you somehow think that you know all the secret things and all the bad things that anybody's ever done. You don't understand that things that are actually still secret are things that people generally have never heard about and are not published on websites all across the internet, okay? Because most of you are people of the failed engine timing, okay? So Donald is a mafioso, and he is a crime boss, okay? He was tied at the hip to Epstein. His wife, okay, his ex-wife Ivana, used to cruise around Palm Beach with Ghislaine Maxwell, who was was like her best friend at the time. And they used to cruise around Palm Beach picking up underage girls for Epstein, okay? Now, Virginia Giuffre was one of Donald's girls who Epstein poached. Okay, people think, oh, well, Donald kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he was a bad guy. No, he did it because they were competitors, and one of his girls got poached. Okay, try to understand that. Even in one of the FBI interviews with one of the girls, they asked the girl one of Epstein's girls, if Donald Kushner Netanyahu ever went over there for massages, and she said, no, because he has his own, massage parlor, basically, okay? So you guys don't understand, even these beauty pageants, a lot of those girls are getting pimped out to high-level acquaintances of Donald Kushner Netanyahu. He's gone on the public record about how he used to go in there and watch the girls change as his supposed privilege of being the pageant owner. Okay, he's gone on record agreeing that he is a sexual predator on the Howard Stern show. You can go ahead and Google it as Ivanka laughs next to him. He's supposedly, quote unquote, joked on the Wendy Williams show that he has sex in common with his daughter Ivanka, okay, who then laughs about it. These people are not really normal people. You can't handle, you think that, just one family is sick, or just only people with a D after their name are sick. Well, let me tell you, I don't know what you think is conservative about Ivanka and Jared, Donald's handlers, okay? So, I just want you to understand that things are a little bit complicated, okay? Ivanka and Jared, it was actually never even legal for them to ever serve as senior advisors in the White House, despite the fact that they were not accepting pay for it, okay? Because as per the legal statutes, declining pay does not make it legal. Okay, it was still a statutory violation. People would say, well, surely, with as much as Donald has been attacked, surely they would never let Ivanka and Jared be in the White House illegally. Well, again, you guys are people of the failed engine timing. You don't understand the massive blackmail dossiers, okay, that kept people off of Ivanka and Jared, who hobnob with people like Gates and Bezos at Alfalfa Club dinners. They're Davosians, okay? They're World Economic Forum young global leaders. Okay, Jared was never even qualified for a security clearance. He was disqualified. And you know what? That didn't stop some things from getting pushed through, but him, even then, using intelligence that he was never even cleared to have, giving it to MBS of Saudi Arabia, and then receiving a $2 billion investment exchange, okay? People can say things about Hunter, and yes, there's a lot of illegalities, okay? But you gotta understand that it's not like, oh, just one person is doing illegal things, okay? The fact that Ivanka got a trademark for voting machines in China while she was illegally working in the White House, there's some red flags there. People only wanna look at one side, and it's, again, it's having failed engine timing, i.e. being what's called a fucking retard. Because you know that the corruption is broad on all sides, but you think that for some reason your orange antichrist is somehow clean, just because it looks like he's being attacked so much. So anyways, going back to some things, Gene Dodaro is the head of the Government Accountability Office. And he's somebody who is compromised, because you got to understand that they don't just use blackmail. These people actually use violence, okay? They use blackmail and bribery and violence. Carrot, stick, or we're going to kill you, okay? So it was actually me that helped take care of that situation, on the fact that Gene Dodaro was being compromised, and that everybody knew that Chad Wolf was in there illegally in his position as pretending head of DHS. Okay, and people would be like, oh, well, why is that a big deal? Well, first of all, after the whole, Donald Kushner Netanyahu roping General Milley into going to that photo op where they walk across the street through the protesters, and then he holds the Bible up upside down in front of the church, the supposed church / what it actually is a building of worship, because Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, is the only true church. Okay, so Donald was trying to get the military boots on the ground to deal with the protesters. Okay, now understand that this Black Lives Matter and all this stuff, these are like Sorosian, George Soros movements. Understand that Kushner and his brother are tied at the hip to George Soros and his money. Not just Sheldon Adelson's money, who was Donald's mega donor, but also George Soros. Okay? So try to understand what an AstroTurf operation is. You have a criminal cult mafia that is pretending to be of different political bents when they really just work together. Okay? Try to understand that Zuckerberg, again, I've brought this up, who is a part of this criminal cult mafia, okay, worldwide criminal cult mafia. You know, they were levied a massive multi-billion-dollar fine for the Cambridge Analytica hack against Facebook because he let it happen. They left the back door open for Cambridge Analytica, which is a subsidiary of Black Cube, which is privatized Mossad that has part of its ownership structure based in Russia, but it's a privatized Mossad operation, despite some geographical legalities, okay? So again, Black Cube is behind the whole Seth Rich DNC hack situation, okay? So when you start to understand that, okay, because certain soft skills hacks, they don't show up in the system as a breach. The normies, they don't understand that there are ways to compromise systems that are never going to show up as a breach. So Black Cube knows how to spin that stuff, and then they go along saying, oh, his name was Seth Rich, and then you're supposed to believe that Hillary, who does indeed have an Arkansas type of past, is the one who Arkansided Seth Rich. But it was all a Black Cube illegal election interference job for Donald Kushner Netanyahu, who is with Chabad Mafia's extremist Messianic death cult faction. Okay? So, you have a whole bunch of death cultists on all quote-unquote sides who just have some different standards, some different lines in the sand. They vie for power. There's different factions, but they're kind of together. Okay? So, someone was trying to tell me, act like I'm just playing, that I'm the one who proverbially castrated Chad Wolf, and that's not really the case. Okay? Because the whole Gene Dodaro situation had to get dealt with. Okay? Because again, he wasn't even if he had wanted to let his employee who did the whole, Chad Wolf workup on Chad Wolf being in his position illegally, even if he wanted to let his employee release that work, okay, there's so much violence that he wasn't going to be able to do that. Okay? So obviously I didn't deal with that situation all by myself, but on the front end of things, I dealt with that situation, and then a whole bunch of people had to deal with it on the back end. Okay? So try to understand that after the military refused to play Donald Kushner Netanyahu's AstroTurf civil war game, because understand there's also people who want to get UN soldier boots on the ground in our country. Okay? There's a whole lot of really terrible things that a whole lot of terrible people want to do. Okay? So when the military refused to play ball with that, what they did is they turned to Chad Wolf, DHS, who was in his position illegally on like 5 different counts, on like 5 different statutory violations. Okay, he had no actual legitimate authority to be hiring contractors that he was having dressed up in camo to look like they were military on the public streets. He never had any authority to hire those people, which means he wasn't actually acting in any legitimate official role within the government, and he was personally liable. Okay, I'm the one who made it exceedingly clear that, okay, here is the red line that somebody is now straddling, getting ready to cross, and from here forward, Chad Wolf is going to be held personally liable if this moves forward. Okay, because even if someone is just being a puppet, a useful idiot puppet, okay, they need to have some personal accountability for their actions when they're not following the law. So again, people were going to try to keep me from serving my lawsuit. Okay, for some of you who actually read through it, you'll see that they were trying to get me to do it in forma pauperis, which would have made me a quote unquote prisoner of the courts. Okay, and if I would have done that, I would have been able to have somebody serve my lawsuit for me. Okay, but since I was not willing to do that and they weren't going to give me my extension, I was not able to serve my lawsuit because I wanted to wait until Donald was out of the Oval Office to serve my lawsuit. Okay, but even though I never expected to be able to serve that lawsuit, okay, there is a requirement in that treason is supposed to be reported. Okay, and so I paid $400 to get that put on the public record out of my pocket, which if some of you understood the degree to which I've been pushed out of income and shut out of different income sources $400 is not exactly an insignificant amount of money to me. So people can say what they want about my role in the Chad Wolf situation if you weren't there, okay? But the thing is even a lot of my old stuff on other platforms, it rolls off so that it's really hard to find after a certain date, and they make it so that my stuff cannot be searched. That it will not show, it's search query banned, okay? So although I probably have archives somewhere, I'm not interested in pulling that up for a bunch of people who don't know what the heck is going on, because this all has been going on for years. So if you showed up recently, just try to understand that you don't know a whole lot, okay? It's funny how people can recognize that they don't understand something, but then still pretend like they do, okay? Sometimes you gotta just understand that, you don't really know a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. So anyways, I just wanted to put this out because, again, I have been too violently persecuted and suffered and sacrificed too much for somebody to go out and then try to pretend like I wasn't the one that kneecapped Chad Wolf, okay? Take it easy, y'all.